What do you mean the bank called about a loan I never signed? I asked, my voice shaking as I gripped the phone tighter and paced across our kitchen. There must be some kind of mistake. The woman on the other end of the line didn't sound like she thought it was a mistake at all. Mrs. Reynolds, I understand this is upsetting, but your signature is on the loan documents. A home equity line of credit was approved and the funds were released 3 weeks ago. I stopped pacing, my stomach dropped. How much? I asked, barely able to get the words out. $375,000, she said. It's tied to your property at 1842 Aspen Drive. That was our house, the old Victorian we bought together and spent years restoring. It was worth almost twice that amount, but the idea that someone had used it as collateral without telling me made me feel like the floor had disappeared under my feet. I need to see those documents, I told her. I never signed anything. This has to be some kind of fraud. If you believe that, Mrs. Reynolds, we recommend you visit the branch as soon as possible. I hung up and just stood there, stunned. Let me back up a bit. My name is Lillian Reynolds. I'm 37, and I own a small interior design company in Portland, Oregon. I specialize in restoring old homes, bringing life back into places with history and character. I started my business, Heritage Revival, 10 years ago, and it's grown steadily since then. It's my pride and joy. What I wanted was simple, a peaceful life, a loving marriage, a home we could grow old in. I thought I had all of that with my husband, Blake. We'd spent the last 5 years working on this house together. Every inch of it held memories. Now, I was starting to think it might all be a lie. Blake and I met in grad school. I focused on interiors. He was into commercial architecture. We balanced each other out, my passion for details, his big picture thinking. We fell in love over late-night study sessions and endless cups of coffee. When we found the rundown Victorian on Aspen Drive, we knew it was our dream project. We poured everything we had into it. After hanging up with the bank, I went straight to our shared home computer. Blake was always careful with his files, but maybe, just maybe, he had left something open. And there it was. His email inbox was still open on the screen. That never happened. I sat down and scanned the list quickly. A message caught my eye. From Jasmine Winters. Subject, closing documents. The condo closing is scheduled for Friday. I can't wait to see the look on. That was all I could see before the preview ended. I clicked the message, but it had already been marked as read and filed somewhere else. I couldn't find it. Who was Jasmine Winters? What condo? And why would Blake be involved in a closing? Before I could dig any deeper, I heard Blake's key in the front door. I slammed the computer shut and tried to calm myself down. I couldn't let him know what I'd just seen, not yet. He walked in, looking relaxed. He gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, dropped his bag on the floor, and loosened his tie. Hey, babe, how was your day? I forced a smile. Interesting, the bank called. He paused just slightly, barely a flicker in his expression, but I caught it, a split second of panic before he slipped back into his usual calm. What about? Something about a loan, a line of credit. He poured himself a whiskey. I have no idea what that's about, he said, keeping his voice steady. Probably just some clerical error. I'll call them tomorrow. I nodded and said nothing more, but inside, I felt something crack. Blake and I had built this life together, brick by brick, just like we'd built this house, but now it felt like the foundation was starting to crumble. We had always been a team. We got married in our late 20s with a plan: build our careers, buy a fixer-upper, start a family before 35. The first 2 goals went pretty well. My design business took off, and Blake's firm started getting bigger and better clients, but the family part, not so much. After 2 years of trying naturally, we turned to fertility treatments. That part of the journey was hard, emotionally and physically. I handled most of it alone. Blake showed up for the big appointments, but more and more, he was busy with work. He told me he was stressed. He said I was spending too much on the studio. He started questioning my business expenses and canceled the kitchen remodel we'd been planning. Looking back, the signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. He started protecting his phone with a password. He became secretive with bills. He said he'd handle the finances and I didn't need to worry. And I didn't. I trusted him. When the pandemic hit and my projects were delayed, he covered the mortgage for 3 months. What's mine is yours, he'd said. But now, thinking back, it all felt like part of a bigger plan, a setup, a way to make me dependent. so I wouldn't notice what he was doing behind my back. And now this loan, this forged signature. He'd used my name to take out $375,000. Without telling me. To make matters worse, someone named Jasmine was emailing about a condo. A new place, a new life? Had Blake planned to leave me and set up shop with someone else? I thought about the years we spent scraping paint off the staircase, restoring the fireplace, picking out light fixtures. All of it felt worthless now. And yet, he was acting like everything was fine. That night, he kissed me goodnight like he always did. He turned off the light and drifted off to sleep beside me. But I couldn't sleep, my mind was racing. He had betrayed me in more ways than one, financially, emotionally, maybe even more. And I had no idea what he would do next. Part 2, the truth comes crashing down. My head was buzzing, my stomach turned. I thought that seeing the other woman might bring me some closure. I imagined it would give me the strength to move on. But standing there, seeing her with my own eyes, it just made everything worse. She wasn't a rumor anymore. She was real. This affair was real. Just then, my phone rang. It was Blake. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "How's your day going?" he asked, like everything was normal. "Great, actually, the client meeting went well," I replied. His voice didn't shake, he didn't hesitate, no guilt, nothing. "I might be late tonight, the project deadline got moved up," he added. Another lie. How many times had these deadlines really been secret meetings with her? "No problem," I said smoothly. "I've got design boards to finish anyway. That's my girl, always working. Love you." That "love you" felt like a knife in my chest. How could he say that, especially if he was standing in her apartment? Later that day, I got home and found a letter from the bank in our mailbox. It wasn't an email, it was an actual envelope, which was unusual. I opened it and my hands started to shake. Inside were documents for a loan I didn't know about. Blake had forged my signature. He must have wanted to intercept this letter before I saw it. But now, I had physical proof. Without wasting time, I called the bank's fraud department. I explained everything, that I never signed those papers. They took me seriously. They froze the remaining money on the loan. About $7,000 hadn't been used yet. That evening, Blake texted again, working late at the office. I replied with one word, "Okay." But I didn't believe him, so I drove to his office to see for myself. The parking lot was dark, the building was empty, his car wasn't there. Any small, silly hope I had, that maybe I was wrong, that there was another explanation, died right there. He came home just before midnight. I was in bed, pretending to be asleep. He took a long shower before slipping under the covers beside me. His phone buzzed a minute later. I heard him laugh quietly as he read a message in the dark. I didn't move. I just lay there, heart pounding, mind racing. It was time to act. I couldn't wait for the bank's investigation to finish. I needed to protect myself right away. The next morning, I made an appointment with a divorce attorney. Not just any lawyer. I needed someone who understood money, lies, and fraud, someone who'd seen this before. The office wasn't flashy, no expensive furniture, it was neat and businesslike. I liked that. Diane Harper, the attorney, listened carefully as I explained everything: Blake's secret loan, the forged signature, the affair. "I'm sorry you're going through this," she said kindly. "Unfortunately, cases like yours are more common than you'd think. We see a lot of spouses hiding money, taking out loans, even stealing identities." I felt sick again. "What can I do?" "First," she said, "we need to document everything. The forged loan is a big deal. That's criminal fraud. We'll file for legal separation to protect your finances while we prepare for the divorce." Then she gave me a warning. "If the bank proves the signature was forged, they might press charges. Your husband could go to jail." I should have felt relieved, but all I felt was a strange numbness. This was the man who'd held my hand during doctor visits, who'd painted the nursery we never got to use. Now he might end up in handcuffs. "I'm not trying to ruin his life," I whispered. "I just want to be safe and free." Diane nodded. "I understand, but the fraud wasn't just against you, it was also against the bank. They may not give you a choice." I left her office with a stack of paperwork and a list of things to gather: bank statements, credit card bills, anything that could help us build the case. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed. It was a notification from our joint credit card. New statement available. I opened it and scanned through the charges. One stood out immediately: $4,300 at Cartier. The date? The weekend I had traveled to a workshop in Vancouver. While I was away, he had bought jewelry, probably for her, using our card. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. When I got home, there was another surprise waiting. A text from Blake. Surprise! I booked us a weekend at the mountain cabin, leaving Friday. We need to reconnect. The cabin, a place we had loved, full of memories. Why now, after everything? Was this guilt, or was it something else? Maybe he sensed I knew something. Maybe this was just a distraction, a way to keep me from digging deeper. I replied carefully, sounds nice, let me check my schedule. That night, he came home with Thai takeout, my favorite, and a bouquet of lilies. It all felt rehearsed, like he was reading from a script. We've both been busy, he said over dinner. This weekend will be good for us. I watched him closely. What made you decide this? I asked. He smiled, taking my hand. I've been thinking a lot. I've been neglecting what matters most. You, us. If I hadn't seen what I saw, if I didn't know about the mistress, the loan, the jewelry, I might have believed him. As he cleaned up after dinner, his phone buzzed. A message popped up briefly. Miss you already. Friday feels so far. He grabbed the phone quickly and replied without looking at me. No guilt, no shame. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about the cabin trip wasn't right. The timing, his sudden sweetness, the text, it all felt wrong. When he finally fell asleep, I got up and checked his phone. It was locked now. But his laptop was still open. I hesitated, then opened the browser. What I found made my blood run cold. Life insurance payout spouse accident, hiking accidents Oregon, undetectable poisons. I stared at the screen, unable to breathe. The cabin trip wasn't about saving our marriage. It was about ending my life. He wasn't planning a romantic weekend. He was planning a murder.